Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being here. If you're brand new and have found me because someone like Kim Newberg or Carrie the Paper Monkey has been talking me up, then welcome and thank you so much for being for being open to suggestion. If you watched my video on covering buttons, then you know that I randomly drew this piece of paper out of a little box. And that is, that has set the direction for the project that I'm undertaking and finishing. And you heard me make that bold prediction here. So that says pink, orange, ombre. So after I finished filming, all I did was go to where I have many of my pre-made covers, and this is essentially what it is. So it's a chiffon-y type material that has been glued to cardstock. Now, had I been a little smarter when I did this, I would have realized that wouldn't it be good to cut it down to not like 9 inches, which is sort of the standard. So this is like 9.5 by 12. So anyway, of course I had to make some adjustments to the papers. Or anyway, I will show you what I've done, and then I will tell you, I kind of think I've painted myself into a corner, and naturally I wanted you to be here to see what I did and how I could get out of it. Now it's probably visible that I've got an air bubble here. Now, short of injecting some glue in there, I don't know how to fix that other than I'm sure that by the time I'm finished decorating the cover, it will not be an issue. Anyway, okay. So the inside cover was this scrapbooking paper. So, you know, it's kind of nice, this periwinkle blue and different shades of pink and so on. And I thought, well, okay, let's kind of let that be the jumping off point. So, when I salvaged a pocket from a shirt. So I didn't do anything to it yet, but I did glue it down, and when I cut it off the shirt, I just cut it really close to the seam. And so I've got the inside fabric of the pocket as well as the outer fabric. Now I glued it down in such a way. What have I got here this is very rigid, but anyway. So there's that. And then there's that. So essentially a double pocket. Now, you know, something may get added to that. Same fabric, but I covered it with lace on this side because I don't use enough lace. So now I stitched it down. Same scenario. The lace, something could be put in there. Something could be put behind the navy fabric. So then I had some pages out of one of these sort of day books. So I used that. I had some, this might be ink dyed paper that I had done a couple years ago. So I used that as well. Just randomly picked some other papers. Now this one I used because it was tall enough. This is avocado dyed paper. And on this side, another thing I don't use enough of, considering that I have about 3 gazillion, are napkins. Excuse me. So I have kind of a tray beside me, a drawer actually, full of napkin pieces. So again, keeping with the sort of the pink thing, I glued that down using glue stick. This is just some stationery that you can sometimes buy in packages of 50 or 100. Music paper. This also was, oh, this came out of a planner, I guess. And it has some avocado dye on it. Coffee dyed paper. Again, trying to, it's not an exact match to that blue, but close enough. More avocado paper. Another page out of that book. Avocado dyed, an old piece of it's about movie stars. More purpley paper that I had, or periwinkle-ish blue that I had dyed. Some field of flowers. This out of the game, How to Host a Murder. And, you know, one thing, okay, I'll tell you in a second. So just the rest of that. And the only other thing I had done here was I had this envelope that I basically covered with part of a digital of mine. I used some old Scotch tape that I'd salvaged from somewhere, added some labels, and I think it looks pretty darn cool. It is obviously a pocket that opens at the top. So on the other side, I just used actually some more digital pieces, because I'm in the process of scanning a bunch of things. So again, more pieces of tape, and I think this is kind of, I like the look of that. On this side, again, I used a napkin. This is a digital tag. This butterfly came off this very paper. It was over here. Just used that there. And that is probably all that I've done so far. So then I thought, well, okay, what about the cover? This is, oh, I said I would tell you about a problem. Now, what I had done when I was binding this in is I used sort of my favorite pokey tool. And you can see it's not really that thick, not that big in diameter. However, it was bigger, it made bigger. I probably stuck it in too far. Made holes that were bigger than the thickness of the waxed thread that I was using. So then I found that it's still kind of wiggly. So I wasn't planning to confess to all this, but since I still have the problem, I have to fix it. So you can see that this is a very fine little thread. So what I started doing in places where it seemed especially loose was putting a dab of Fabri-Tac, because it's, it's fairly thick, it dries clear. I believe that no one would be the wiser, and it would stabilize these pages. But clearly, I still need to be aware that some of these things need to be kind of tightened up a bit. Now, unfortunately, I made it as tight as I could, but I think it's the fact that the holes are a bit too big for the diameter of the thread. So, note to self, don't do that again. So then another thing that has been kicking around, because I didn't know where to put it, was this magnet shaped, or this frame, and this magnet that looks like a frame. Now, I maybe should have left a little part of it, the front exposed. It was like a dark maroony red. Again, because I'm on this mission to use napkins, and I love this one, I just started plunking it down on the board. Well, what I did was I scuffed up the surface of the magnet with an emery board. Excuse me. And of course, because these are scraps, it didn't totally cover, so I had little bits of red. And then I thought, you know, I do want to, and what I intended to do was show you the part, because I just laid a piece over, and then I used this little sponge sander to get what I thought was a very nice edge once the glue had dried. And again, I just used my glue stick. So I did that around the edges on the inside of this opening. Now, so then picture this, I still had this amount that was red. And I thought, well, we all know that things look, okay, if this is a white background napkin, it looks better on a white background because the background kind of disappears and the design jumps forward. So what I did was I used some gesso and I kind of dry brushed it on. Did basically 2 coats. It dries really quickly, so that wasn't an issue. And it was basically a very thin amount that I put on. So now that I see this, I see that there's a little furry edge there. So I thought, well, I could just go ahead and finish this and tell you about it, but maybe there are some people who haven't really done napkins yet. So I will do the next step of this. Oh, and then I thought, well, I better gesso those red areas. So here, this corner, and then I carried it over a bit. So hopefully you can see. Now, I don't mind this at all because it looks worn, it looks textural. These are the sorts of effects that we sometimes deliberately set out to get. So I'm not going to complain about that. And that's what I mean, excuse me, about painting myself into a corner, because I think as crafters, we do that all the time. And then we can either get fed up and disgusted and, chuck a thing as far as we can, or get discouraged and give up, or we can just plow ahead and fix it. And who knows, some of these things, some of these blunders or, mistakes, errors in judgment, whatever, end up creating a whole new effect or a whole new technique that we, roughly from the bottom to about there, that we can then, either live with and never repeat, or use again if it was really kind of special. So basically, I hope I'm still staying aware of what I'm doing here. Now, again, with the nature of this being just a narrow little frame, quite a bit of this bigger flower will be lost. Didn't do that especially well. Again, I don't want to overwork it because we know that this is obviously very thin and fragile stuff when it's wet. So I'm going to let that dry a bit. And as it's drying, I will maybe I should just to give you, maybe I'll trim some of this excess off just so we can get a better idea. Because, of course, my next step was thinking, okay, big deal. Now what? So what I did was pull out some pink things, pink lace, pink. And of course, all pinks are not created equal. And not everything necessarily goes together well. Now, sometimes that doesn't matter, especially if we're doing something kind of eclectic. Other times it does matter. So again, just ignore these jagged edges for the time being. I'll show you some of the things I consider. Now, I happen to really like the hot pink orange combo. To me, it really says, you know, Indian colors and, you know, the vibrancy and so on. Now this, what I've done here, you can see how much brighter and more visible this is than the side I did on the red. So proof positive. So I thought, well, okay, that little strip of orange is kind of neither here nor there. So I pulled out, and I love this Swiss dot. But when I kind of held that up, I thought, and oh, by the way, this is part of a box that I salvaged during a thrift haul. So just pretend that that frame has that backing. So my intention is to cover this cardboard with something, glue the magnet onto the cardboard, and then again have sort of a double where something could be slipped in here and something could be slipped in behind there. So I don't know. I would have to, this is not really thrilling me at this point. Clearly, to make this work, there'd have to be a repetition of orange and something else. Otherwise, it looks like, you know, it looks a bit kind of random. So I put that aside for the time being. I am putting, but they're not in my Etsy shop yet, but I am putting together some ribbon packs. And this is one of the ones that I have included because I love it. These little dots are flocked. And, you know, it's a fairly big roll, so I thought I could share some with you guys. Anyway, I also have this sort of braid because back in the day, I thought that I was going to, well, and I did do a lot of cushion covers. Where's the end? So, of course, I need braid in every color. So I thought that this may be something that I could put on here, but you can see that's not exactly. That's introducing something totally different. Now, maybe the burgundy would pick up on the, let me get a little more freed up here. You know, the burgundy sort of picks up on the darkest shades in these, I don't know, what are they, magnolias? Or just beautiful flowers. So chances are I won't be using that either. So then a little too, what color is this? I don't know what color that is. A little too much though. I also had this that was pink, but again, and probably, excuse me, I don't know what the heck, you know, something that might be underneath this frame, obviously kind of trimmed to size. I suppose that might not be bad. A lighter pink. Well, for this purpose, it doesn't really matter which side is up. You know, that could be nice as well. And then, obviously, again, I don't use enough doilies. So you can see that, obviously, I removed some crocheted motifs off here. I wonder, I should have looked for those, I guess. They're not in this box. But this crocheted trim is another possibility for, you know, running down the side of the frame. So at this point, I don't know yet what the answer will be. But let's see if this is kind of, well, maybe I should leave that a bit longer. So I found another napkin that I love. So I thought that I would add this to the back of that so that, you know, if somebody pulls something out of the pocket, there's still something pretty to look at. So I think I'm going to just, you know, plow ahead and do that. Where's my paper? So I'm going to try to get as much of the design on there as I possibly can. I had to trim this down a bit so it would obviously not extend past the edge of the magnet, and would, you know, I didn't want to make it too different in size, because then that could become a catching point with inserting things. So basically this is all I do, sort of slather my surface with glue, and I use, I call it Yoo-hoo, just because small things amuse small minds. I don't know if it's Yoo-hoo or Ooh-hoo or whatever, but so again, we don't have to be right up to the edge, but we do need to, because of course the frame will cover part of that. But like I said, this sort of fades out here, so I wanted the more vibrant colors showing. And at this point, I'm just using my hands to gently, now I suppose I could reach for, whoops, a brayer, just to make sure that I have good contact, because of course sometimes you don't know that you don't until it's too late, and then you end up with an air bubble. Not that that's the end of the world either, but you know, we can avoid some problems with a little forethought. So I'm just, probably not a smart idea to try to trim this right this second, but hey, we're trying to serve the greater good here, which is shorter videos. And that, of course, is going to be the issue with any of these videos where I'm finishing these projects. That's why a fair bit of it is going to be done either ahead of time or, you know, with as much preparation, you know, things pre-cut as possible. Kind of wrecking that a bit, but again, it will be covered by the magnet. Okay, so let's pretend that that is that. Now, the other thing I did was I pre-selected a piece of acetate that I will glue. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't think about what I could make a card with. But again, that's, I need to keep checking the time. We're already at 23 minutes, so we're not going to get all that done. Now, typically, I would use this over my garbage can just to avoid creating a whole bunch of dust. Now, it is making it a wee bit furry, but that's okay. I think what I'm going to do is, once this is thoroughly dried, you know, like leave it for a few hours or overnight, I'm going to coat it with some matte medium, just to protect the napkin a bit, and also to prevent any of the painted areas from, because I bet you if I used a fingernail or something sharp, I could expose that red. And we don't want that necessarily to happen. Now, of course, I'm sure there will be other things added to this journal topper thingamajig as we go along. I'm not committing to that this is the final thing. I think that that looks pretty good. Maybe there's a bit of something here. I guess, I was going to say, well, let's glue the acetate down. The only problem with that is that I'm going to have to be so careful once I do the matte medium. So maybe I should quickly do that instead. It's right here, I hope. Yep. And I even have a brush handy. Boy, you'd think that I was... Oh, why am I shaking it? I don't think I need to shake it. I'm just going to... Oh, and you see that I'm just... Okay, don't do it that way. You can see that I really gave it a lot of drying time, didn't I? I was talking about a few hours or overnight. And next thing you know, I'm painting it. I'm sealing it. So, go figure. It looks as though there really aren't any rules to this business. If you end up just, doing what I'm doing, which is putting a dab or a drop or two on your brush, you don't end up with a puddle of wasted product, because none of these things are cheap, as you well know. Okay, this is going to be dry in no time at all, and I do have a heat gun right under my desk here that I could pull out if necessary. Just give it a little more down here. I don't know, I hope you can see that. I have been trying to do a little more outreach and more networking with fellow creators. I found another person who lives near, within an hour away. And so I've reached out to her by email. Again, I went against the grain there, against the, the frayed edge of the napkin. I've reached out to her suggesting we meet for coffee, so, oopsie. So hopefully that will work, because, oh, look what I just did. Damn it. I'm going to have to put in a patch now. Oh, and here's a little nick. Now that one I could live with, and that one I could live with, but the more I keep putzing with this, the more damage I'm doing. I think there's going to be a label right there. Because really, I cannot go, well, I suppose I can, but I don't have the patience to do all that. Okay, let me get this out of here before I do more damage. So clearly I can't add the acetate until that now dries. I think I'm going to stop here, number one, because I have to wash my brush now. That was an unplanned, what is that? Unforced error. And we'll continue. I'll probably add, like I said, some of this, but maybe after I've had a chance to think about it a bit more and try a few more options. I did like some of the lace underneath, so before I get carried away, I will I'll see how this thing progresses and figure out, I don't want to, and I'm sure you don't want to see every single move I make, because that will be, that's just not good. You should be doing your own crafting, people. I mean, obviously watch me too and others, but yeah, I'm going to do some more of this on my own, and then kind of bring you up to date by showing you some stuff now and again. It might not hurt since my brush is wet. Why don't I do this as well? You think it's dry enough? Or should I wreck this too? Oh, what the heck. Wait, I can get another paper here to protect my surface a bit. Yeah, let's just quickly go over this. And then we know that this will have some protection as well. And because, like, this medium, of course, comes in different degrees of glossiness. So this is matte, so it really doesn't add any real shine to it. So that's good. That's what I prefer in this case. Hard to tell. I guess I thought I damaged that, but I guess it's just the way the design is. It's a light spot there. Okay. Stop. I implore you, put down the brush. Okay, hands up. It's like when you're taking an exam. Okay, pencils down, brush down. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Because I think I said this the other day, because my filming schedule is now not as regular and prescribed as it was during the 100-day challenge, I strongly urge you to hit the notification bell so that you're advised of when new content is uploaded, because it seems that because of the gaping hole in my heart left by not being able to craft for a while, I'm just kind of doing everything, trying to play a bit of catch up here. So put the brush down and stop touching anything. So I don't know what's coming next, but hey, if I'm surprised, you can be surprised too. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.